Okay, let's get to the end of the Magid. Okay, so we spoke about Pesach, and now you do matzah. Matzah zu she'anu ochlim al shumah, al shum shelo hespik batzekam she'avatenu lachmitz ad shenigla alehem melech malchei hamelachim hakadosh baruch hu v'ga'alam shnema v'hu batzek asher hotzim u'mitzrayim ugot matzot ki lo chametz ki goshu mitzrayim v'lo yachol litmameh v'gam tzeda lo asu lahem. Okay, so the matzah, which is our mitzvah d'oraisa that we have in terms of the mitzvahs achila, the ikar inyan in the matzah is lo hispik. It's shlilas hazman, right? In other words, shlilat hazman, that there's no time. There's no time in it. Right? In other words, they didn't have time to think. They couldn't wait. They had to run, right? And you can't hang around. Lo yachlu lehitmameh, v'gam tzeda lo asu lahem. So, you know, the way that the Baal Hagadah kind of he's madgish this. It was Rabbi Gamliel, right? He's madgish this, the ikka thing of the matzah, the matzah zu she'anu ochlim al shumah al shum she'en lo hayazman. There was no time. That's the reason why we eat the matzah. Okay, what's the oimik of that? You know, why is that the ikka concept of the matzah? So, there's lots you could say over here, obviously, right? You know, there's plenty of Torahs that are said on this. My personal favorite is the Pachad Yitzchak Maimah Aleph. Right? It's a home run, right? She'en kedugmata mamash, right? You know, he explains this inyan in the mitzvah of Zrizas. He brings the Maharal. The Maharal says that we learn from here Shmartim et ha-mitzvot. You learn a klal from here, right? For Shmartim, the ikar din lishma, by the way, in matzahs is shimur from chimutz. It's from the Rishonim in the Sugya, mem vav, I think, whatever it is, roughly there in Pesachim. The ikar shmir is shmir from chimutz, and you learn from there mitzvah bal yadcha al tachmitzena. You learn a klal from there to all of the mitzvahs that you don't hang around. You have to do mitzvahs bezrizas. And you know, he brings the Maharal that says that just how you understand that chametz is a chefza that's pasul, right? It's pasul be'etzem when it's chametz. The matzah is pasul when it's yeah. So the Maharal says so too in your mitzvahs, when you allow time to be sholet on the thing, when you don't do mitzvahs bezrizis, it's actually pogem the mitzvah, right? It's pogem the mitzvah, and he asks why, and he builds amazing mahalach in this, right? And he explains. It's very matim to how we've been building this theme through the Hagadah of coming into the world of Hakadosh Baruch Hu, and he explains what is the mitzvah of Zrizis. But the ikar midah in the whole Pesach is Zrizis. If you pick up on that, everything you do bezrizis, and it's again and again and again. The matzah, obviously, right? If you've ever been in a matzah bakery, right, you know that it's manic. Right? The Korban Pesach was super zrizis. It was a crazy zrizis. Right? They had less than 6 hours to bring all of the korbanos of the entire Klal Yisrael. It was insane. Right? Yeah? The Gemaras talk about it. Right? How fast the Kohanim had to move. Right? Yeah. And also the Bedikas Chametz and the Bio Chametz. You start like from 3 months back, and you start checking, and being the whole midah, the whole time is Zrizis. Like that's the theme of Pesach, right? And where does that come from? So he explains that the midah of Zrizis by a Jew is not the same thing as just it's not just ambition. That's not what Zrizis is. Zrizis is ambition, and I just want to get what I want, and therefore I do it quickly because, I really want that thing. I've got like ants in my pants, right? That's not what Zrizis is. He explains, he brings the Gra. The Gra says that Bereshis Nami Maimahu. We know that Basara Ma'amaris Nivra Ha'olam, The Gemara counts that there's 9. That means that in the Maaseh Bereshit it says Ba'asara Ma'amorot Vayomer Elokim Yehi Or Vayomer Elokim Yehi Rakia. Each one was a mimer. The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah and in Megillah says that there's only 9. Right? It says the Gemara Bereshis Nami Maimahu. Bereshis, right? Bereshis, right? Bereshit. Bara Elokim et Hashemayim et Haaretz is a mimer Bereshis. The Gra says, what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create? The beginning. He created Zman, time. That's the first thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created. And for the physicists among you, right? That's unbelievable pshat there, right? Zman is the most subtle level of the bria. It's not like a thing. It's not gashmius. It's like the background to the whole bria. Any movement, anything that happens in the bria is happening within this continuum called time. It's the most subtle level in the bria. It's the first thing. The ability for there to be a past, a present, and a future, for movement, for stuff to happen. Right? That's called Zman. And says the Pachad Yitzchok like this. It says Zrizis is that in Yetzias Mitzrayim, Klal Yisrael, they broke through every level of the bria, and they were nichnas into the world of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's l'mayla min azman, l'mayla min ateva, l'mayla from any level of the bria, any system that was set in the bria, like we explained. You enter that world in Pesach. You enter HaKadosh Baruch Hu's world, the world of Havaya, which is Haya, Hove, Yihi, Mahavet, was, is, always will. He's above it, he's beyond it, right? He is the Ein Sof. That's where you enter on Pesach. Right? So he says this is what Zrizis is. Zrizis is the neshama, the neshama's drive, hishtokekut. It's rotzen to break through every level of the bria and to go into HaKadosh Baruch Hu's world. That is expressed in Zrizis. That you want that there's no level of geshem that's chal on this ma'isa, on a ma'isa mitzvah. Right? Even time itself, if time could be chal on the mitzvah, if it's let to sit and time is shoylet on the mitzvah, that's a pagam in the mitzvah. That shows a lack of sensitivity to what the mitzvah is. The mitzvah connects you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it brings you into His world, and there shouldn't be even zman on it, because that's what a mitzvah is. It connects you to an olam of Havaya, an olam that's above everything. Right? That's such an unbelievable shot. Right? And he says that's matzah. Matzah is the matzah is a chatichat gashmiut she'en lo zman. That's what matzah is. It's not just it's an extra bechina that you have on the mitzvah. That's what the thing is. Matzah is a chatichat lechem she'en lo zman. It hasn't got zman in it, right? And that's what matzah is. Matzah is that we came into that world. We came into the world of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this new Hagadah, Enzman. You move, right? You're above all of that. That's what matzah represents. That's the oimek of what matzah is, and you're shaykh to that. And again, as we've said, when you have a chiyuv d'oraisa on that means that you're shaykh to that. You can actually enter HaKadosh Baruch Hu's world. That means that you have His hashgacha. Any level of muzzle, of system in the bria is not shaykh to you. Ein muzzle Yisrael. That means ein bichlal. That means that you deal with HaKadosh Baruch Hu directly. There is no level of the bria that is magbil you in any way. Right? It doesn't restrict you in any way. Right? You live with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the matzah. Right? And that was expressed in that Klal Yisrael had no time. You run. You're running to a new world. You're going into a whole new existence. You go. Right? That's called Zrizis. Right? That's the Musi of Zrizis. That's matzah. Yeah? Yeah.
That doesn't affect us?
No, for sure not. No, Adrabah. That's what we said yesterday in Korban Pesach. The Ramban says that's part of one of the time of Korban Pesach, that you shecht the mazal tleh. Yeah, you shecht it, right? You shecht it and you eat it, right? You eat it means that you can be shoylet on it. That's called man malchi rabbanon. That's another. That's a very, very deep thing, but. The whole bria is now going to be decided by the chachomim, not by anything else. But fine, okay.
Rabbi, aren't they still specific on Hagadah for each kodesh? Like that's each of the mazolas. They're not stunned. They are.
Yeah, they're rooted in shiftei kar and all of this stuff. Yeah, it's bechinas, right? But it's not a mazel means that it's restricted. In this concept of the mazel, that means that there's something kavua in the bria that restricts you. En kazeh davar, right? It doesn't. It's not. It's not. It can't restrict you on any level, right? It can't restrict you on any level. It could be there's certain hashpahs that come in each month, right? I don't know, right? Yeah, I don't know. But this, the Ramban says, Buhadia. The Ramban says that you shech the mazal today because you become above it, right? You become above it and you transcend it, right? It's on, you can look it up, it's in Parshas, Parshas, Boy, yeah, Parshas Boy. Chodesh Zeh Lachem, right? He says it there, right in the Parshas. Right, fine, okay. So now, so that's matzah, right? Maro Zeh Shanu Ochlim Al Shumah Al Shum Shemaru Mitzrim Et Chayav Atenu BeMitzrayim Shenema VeMaru Et Chayim BaAvodah Kasha B'Chom V'Vim B'Chol Avodah B'Sadeh B'Kol Avodah Mashiach Avdu B'Farich. So here, you see the moro. The moro again is something that you take with you. We said this at the beginning that the shibud is a critical thing to mention in the Hagadah, because the shibud actually was a part of the binyan of Klal Yisrael. That's part of the Anhaga as well that HaKadosh Baruch Hu acts with us now. That there's Yisurim and there's Mariras sometimes in life, right? But it's part of the Anhaga which is there to be Megala the Pnim. Right? That's what challenges are. Rabbi Yisrael Salanta says this in a few places that it's often the tension of Yisurim or challenges in life that HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts you in, which actually brings out the koichas in your koichas which are dormant. That's what it does. Right? That's what a nisayon does, and that often comes with Yisurim. That's what moro does. And moro means that it's not, Baruch Hashem, it's over. No. You have a chiyuv, right? You have a chiyuv to eat the moro again every year. You have a chiyuv to eat the moro again every year because you have to understand that the moro was part of your binyan. And as a Jew, that's also part of your life now. That moro is a chelik of who you are, right? That means that you're there to build, and that comes through testing and yisurim. That's part of what it means to be a Jew. There is a thing which there's something that you should pick up on, which is that it's not for nothing that moro bezman hazeh is the rabbanon. That's not stum, right? Because moro because in other words like this. The Gemara says, what's the pasuk? Having a blank today with my psukim. Al matzotu me'orim yachlu, right? Al matzotu me'orim yachlu. That's going on the korban pesach. In other words, the only time that mora is deraisa is when it's with the korban pesach. The matzah is not like that. The Gemara darshans that you v'achlo tov b'layla hazeh. It's even without korban pesach, but mora is only with korban pesach, and because you don't have a Beis Hamikdash, so mora b'zman hazeh is only d'Rabbanan. So that means that's something that's very telling. That's something you have to think about. I'm going to say a pshat on that. In other words, when you can't do when you can't connect fully to korban pesach, which we can't do because lemaisa we can't do it. We only have a zeicha to it, which is the afikoman. Right, which is and the inyan of korban pesach is to be makabel on yourself avdus. Right, that's the inyan of korban. It's the chalois shem eved. Right, it's that the eved is chal on you. So then Hakadosh Baruch Hu has to hold back on the yisurim. He has to hold back on the moral. It can't be too much because you wouldn't be able to deal with it. Right, that's for sure. It's along that kivun. However you want to develop it, you can think about that. That's poshet like that. But we still have a bechina of mora. It's a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, and it's part of who we are. It's part of who we are, right? Life is adam la'amal yulad, and it's the yisurim and the mariras that bring out the pnim. That's what the shibud Mitzrayim was. It was through the shibud that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was megala, this nakuda, which was deep in them, that they were Bnei Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That's the schus of us, and that's part of who we are. And Mamela, you still every year you eat moro. You eat moro because it's not something that sha'ava. It's part of your identity, right? It's part of who you are and what your life is about, right? Okay, right? So you read that, okay? So There's an interesting thing also that the Maharal points out, which is that Dalit Koisus, he gets very much into Dalit Koisus. Dalit Koisus, that's the other mitzvah achila, it's Dirabanon. It's not, right? That's why it's not, that's mistama why it's not mentioned in Rabban Gamliel, because all three of these, they have a makor in Doraisa. Okay, but Zmanazeh, we don't have more of a Doraisa, but Dalit Koisus is Dirabanon. So he has a whole long arichas on that. That shtia is tafel la'achila, and it's nichlal in matzah, and that's why the chachamim were mataken it. And he says Gavaldig Azachan over there that we have the minhag to have 3 matzahs. That's Keneged Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Obviously, I told you, whenever you see 3, you think Avod, right? Klal, right? And whenever you see 4, what do you think? Imot, right? And the 4 cases are for sure Keneged Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, right? And they're tafel to the matzah, right? Yeah, that's how that works. So that's also something that you can think about, right? That's the achila and the shtia, and it all comes together, and you sort of ingest that, and you become this Yerusha of the Avos becomes part of who you are, right? Okay, all right. So, and that brings you to the finale, right? All of that, everything that we've been speaking about for, I think this is the 8th shir, right? Is to bring you to this line. It's there to bring you to this line. Bechol davado chayav adam lirot et atzmo ki'ilu hu yatsa mitzrayim. When you've done all of that now, when you've done all of that properly, and you've really been mispoiling on all of this, and how HaKadosh Baruch Hu, started a new Hagadah, and He had you in mind, and what the Nisim mean, and how it breaks everything down, and you come into a new world of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So then you can come to Bechol davado. Now, Rabbatai, right? You can't. You can't be too yeshivish on this. You gotta open your heart to get emotional, right? Yeah. If you've done this right, you should be you should be in a very very Roman-mystic place by the time you get here, and you move into the Hallel.
Why do you see the
Right?
chiyuv at the end?
Yeah. Huh?
Why do you see the chiyuv at the end? Surely the chiyuv should be before we say.
No. It's through the story that you get to that darga. You get to the Chayav Adam Liros Esatzmo through telling the story. That's what we said. That's a sipur. The sipur is the whole idea of a sipur is that it touches you and it brings it out of you. Right? You connect to it. Right? You connect to it in a very very deep way. Right? And when you get to this point, if you've done it right, you can measure how well you've done it by how what your matzav nafshi is, right? By the time you get to this stage, b'chol dovado chayed avam leros esan v'kilu hu yatzim mitzrayim shenema v'yigalti lebincha b'yom hu le'mo b'avuzeh asa Hashem li b'sei mitzrayim v'lo ata b'snei bilvad ga'al HaKadosh Baruch Hu ela af otanu ga'ali mahem. Right? That's the Hadgasha. That's what we said. When you understand that story deeply, and you understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did that for you, He had us in mind in Tafshin Pei Aleph, right? He had us in mind as well, and we are a direct taitzah of Yetzias Mitzrayim. It wasn't grada. It's not that we're just sons of free men. He took us out. We were in mind. We were be'etzim there, and He took us out, right? And Mamela. למען הביא אותנו לתת לנו את הארץ אשר נשבע לאבותינו, to bring us to תכלס, לפיכך, and therefore, אנחנו חייבים להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפעל, לרומם, להדר, לברך, להלל ולקלס למי שעשה אבותינו את כל הניסים האלו, הוצאנו מעבדות לחירות, מיגון לשמחה, מאפל לטוב מטוב, מאפל לגדול, משיב לגאולה, ונובל שיר חדשה, הללוקה, right? And then you move into the Hallel. And the Bala God did something very interesting over here. Split the Hallel. Right? Hallel Davahu. Right? Hallel Davahu. If now's the appropriate time to say the Hallel, so say the whole thing, right? And if you should wait till after Birkas Hamazon, as techakeh. Lama Bala Hagadah chalak et zeh. Why did the Bala Hagadah split it? Right? Why do you split the Hallel into 2? So it's for sure true that the reason why the Bala Hagadah split up is because the first 2 prokim are mamash me'inyan the Magid. It's exactly the hemshech. It's the bidyuk hemshech of what you've been saying in the Magid. And if you just read the first 2 prokim, right, of the Hallel, it's mamash. You don't have to say anything, right? You literally don't have to say it. It's mamash that, right? And then the rest of the Hallel you say after Birkas Hamazon, there's for sure something to that. Maybe we'll talk about this and we'll see, right? So look what you say. Hallelujah, hallelujah, Avdei Hashem. Avdei Hashem. Hallelujah, Hashem Hashem. He Shem Hashem Mevorach Me'ata Ve'ad Olam. The Shem Havaya is there forever. Mimizrach Shemesh Ad Mevorah Mehulal Shem Hashem. Rama Kol Goyim Al Hashem Al Hashemayim Kevodo. Mi Hashem Eloheinu Hamagbihi Lashavet. Hamashvi L'Ro B'Shamayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu lives on high, but he's interested in what goes on in the Aretz. That was Niskala Yitzias Mitzrayim. Now look what you say here. Mikimi Me'afradal. I'm going to get emotional in a minute. Right, but Ashbot Yorim Evion, Lo Hashivi Im Nedivim, Im Nedivei Amo, Moshivi Akeret Abayim Muslimim. It's unbelievable. Right? Mikimi Me'afradal, HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes you up. That's what you've been talking about for the last, however long your Maggid has been. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes you out from the Ashbot, from the filth, right? We were low, we were avadim, we were nothing. We were total down in the dumps. Nothing. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu lifts you up into his world. Mikimi me'afradal, me'ashpot, yarim evyom, from the filth. It means the mamash, the filth, right? Memtesh shari tuma, 2021, right? All the schmutz and everything that you want. Yeah, you can actually have a shaykhus at Siyas Mitzrayim over there. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will lift you up from there as well. Because it's for you. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu had you in mind. Lahoshivim nedivim, to sit you with the mechubadim she'amechubadim. You sit with Avraham Avinu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu lifts us up and brings us into the world of the Ovis. He lifts us up into his world, and you sit with the nedivim. You sit at the shulchan with Avraham Avinu. Im nedivei amo, moshivi akeret abayim b'semach. It takes someone who has no future. Akeret abayit means that you've got no future. Enatid, there's nothing there. Enatid, no. Em habayim smecha. He turns you into em. That means an Abba and Ima means that you have a tachlis, you have a hemshich, you have something, you have something to go forward. He gives you tachlis, right? That's exactly what you've been talking about in the Hagadah. Bidyuk, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took you out, lifted you into his world, and gave you a tachlis, right? And the next one, but Seis Yisrael Mitzrayim, when tzrich lagi klum, right? Yeah, but Seis Yisrael Mitzrayim, Bet Yaakov me'am lo'ez. הייתה יהודה לקודשו, יסמם שלותיו, היום רב הינוס, הידין יסוב לכו, הערים רקדו כאלים, גברות כבני צאן, מלך הים כי תנוס, הידין תסוב לכו, הערים תרקדו כאלים, גברות וסלמים מלפני אדון חולי ארץ, מלפני אלוהי יעקב, חוב יוצא גם מים, חלמיש לא מים מים. They come out of Mitzrayim, the yam sees them and it runs away. It runs away. Why? Because it was faced, when it saw Klal Yisrael, it saw HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, you can say things there that especially also it's madgish mayim over here. Mayim is chomer bli tzura, right? As the Maharal explains in many places, it means gashmias with no tzura to it. It has no tzura means spirituality, form, tachlis, right? Chomer means material, right? Mayim is always chomer bli tzura, because it doesn't have has no form to it, it has no identity to it. It doesn't have color, taste, smell, nothing, right? It's just gashmias. That's what it is, right? And Klal Yisrael at the Yam gave tzura to the chomer, right? They gave tzura. They made a wall out of that thing. Right? Yeah, that's called Kriyas Hayam. That's what Klal Yisrael are. That they take the gashmias, they take the olam hazeh, and they give it tzura, and they give it tachlis, and that's what you say over here, right? That's a hemshich from the Maggid. That's mamash a hemshich from the Maggid. So these two things. When you say the Haggadah, when you speak about that story and it touches you and you realize in a very, very deep way that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu put me in the world, I'm the next shlav in what's called Klal Yisrael, and that means that he put me here for a reason, and he had me in mind back then, and there's something that he wants from me, from my life, in Olam Hazeh, and I'm literally bringing the next step in the journey of what the Others started. That's me. That's shaykh to me. So you say these, you say that, you say you can say Hallel straight away. That brings you into a Hallel, and then you say the bracha. Bracha Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Asher Galanu v'Gal Avatenu Mitzrayim v'Giyanu Halayla Hazeh Lechol Matzor v'Maror Ken Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokei Avatenu Yagiyenu Moadim Ragalim Achanim B'Bayim K'nei Shalom Smechim B'Binyan Yirach. In other words, just like, and that's what the Haggadah does. When you see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took you out, it's like Rebbe Akiva at the end of Makkas. When he knew that the two nevuas were totally one on the other, right? And when he saw the Churban, so he knew that there would be a time, so he was laughing, right? You know, everyone knows the Gemara at the end of Makkas, right? The last Gemara in Makkas. It's the same thing over here. Right? When you realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Chishev et HaKetz, right? That he had a tachlis for the whole Bria, and I'm part of that. So then you can make a bracha. He brought me to this night, tomorrow. Ken Hashem Elokei Avotenu Yagienu. He will bring us. Right? He'll bring us there. Okay, here this way you switch it over because it's Chal B'Motzei Shabbat. Min ha'psachim min ha'zvachim. You know that? You changed the nusach this year, right? Okay. Asher yagia damam al kir mizbech haratzon v'nodeh lecha shir chadash hagoten v'podnasheni baruch atah Hashem Gal Yisrael, and you make another bracha on the, okay, whether different minhagim, whether you make all the brachas, but that's like a kiddush. It's the same thing that you can drink. Right? In other words, you infuse aromas into the ma'aser achila or to the ma'aser shtia, because that's what it does. Every when you're a Jew, the gashmias is infused with kedusha. That's what you're about. Right? And then you drink and you lean. Right? Okay. Right. So that's Magid. Right. That's what I wanted to share with you. That's the Ikka. But maybe we'll do a thing tomorrow about Birkas Hamazon and the rest of the Hallel. I'll see. I'm hesitant, and I'll think about it. Right? I'm hesitant because I don't like to go too much into Pirushim on tefillahs and Hallel, because in my opinion it's a very personal thing. Right? I can't stand these books that tell you, that they tell you, this word of Shemona Esrei means that, and you have to have kavanah for this, and that to me that just turns tefillah from like an emotional connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where you're oimed lifnei HaMelech and you're speaking to him to a robotic recitation, right? I can't stand it, right? So I'll think about it whether we should do that. But I will say at this point, you have to think about that. You have to think about why is the Birkas Hamazon. In other words, they made 4 cups. Now, it's not pshat that they needed to stick 4 cups in there. So they said, "Yalla, bon nasim echad ala birkat hamazon." Otherwise, we're not going to have where we're going to have one, right? Yeah, that's not pshat. Yeah, the pshat is that the birkas hamazon has something be'etzem to do with the message of the Laila, right? Be'etzem. Otherwise, you wouldn't make there would have been 3 cups, right? Yeah, and the 3 cups would have been obviously not the Amos, whatever it was, right? They didn't just put it stum. It was bidiuk. That means that the Birkas Hamazon be'etzem has something to do with the Leila Seder, right? Now, and obviously, you mention Yitzias Mitzrayim in Birkas Hamazon, right? You mentioned that, so you have to think about that. That's something you have to think about. And then the Hallel Hagadah obviously is what to do with the Leila, and that's the 4th bracha, right? So each thing, all the Dalet Koisos, the Kiddush, the Magid, the Birkas Hamazon, and the Hallel Hagadah, each one is you're making a bracha. It's a Kiddush, it's a Kiddush. It's like a Kiddush. It's a Birkas. It's like a Kiddush. For those of you learning the Sugya, the Dalet Koisos, So it's for sure. According to all of the Rishonim, it's got a bechina of a kosher bracha. It's got a bechina because the shaila is what the ikar is, right, as we learned, right. You're making a kosher bracha here. That means that there's something there about the night that requires a bracha, and it's said on these things, on the Hallel and on the Birkas Hamazon. So you've got to think about that and connect that. It's all one thing. The Leila Seder is telling you one message, and you've got to be a London and find the theme that's carrying through the whole thing. All right. So Ad Kan. Okay. The Seder.